Hi, and Gage, the horse riding confidence coach here, with another confidence tip for you. So, can anxiety be a habit? You might be surprised that it actually can. That, especially if you've had a fear or an anxiety for a long period of time, your brain pattern or your brain develops a pattern that goes to that anxiety, and it can get triggered by different situations and not necessarily the original situation. Say, if you've had a fall off a horse, um, it may not be that exact location. It might be sounds or smells or memories for sure. But anything that reminds your brain of that situation can trigger your anxiety, much like a car alarm that is working correctly and only goes off when somebody's actually trying to break into your car, goes into a default of any time something brushes past your car, that alarm goes off. And so this becomes a problem because the anxiety is being triggered by things you don't really need to be scared of. And you might find that if you have been suffering with anxiety for some time, is that your world starts to actually get smaller. So you might have started out being afraid of cantering, and then eventually it's about trotting, or it's you feel that anxiety starting when you're tacking your horse up, or even when you're driving to your barn. um, I've even known people who it started the day before they were to have their riding lesson. So that's a real problem, and you may cope by trying to avoid particular situations of that would trigger those feelings, because they're really uncomfortable, those feelings of anxiety, that tightness in your chest, the nauseousness in your stomach, the shakiness. And so you'll start to avoid situations that will trigger it. And that is not being cowardly by any means. That is a coping mechanism. But it's making your world smaller, and it's keeping you away from something you enjoy doing or used to enjoy doing and want to enjoy doing again. So I'll give you some tips for dealing with this type of anxiety and how you start to change this pattern, because really it is a pattern in your brain, and you're able to rewire your brain to change those habitual paths that your brain follows so that it's not getting triggered um, by all sorts of different situations. So first of all, start small, baby steps, and go slowly. Hi, Loretta. Nice to see you. I can't. Oh, there's the comments popping up. Sorry, I'm doing it on my laptop today rather than my phone, so the comments are popping up in a different place. So to break this pattern of anxiety, this habit of feeling anxious, you want to start small and go slowly. You want to be patient with yourself, be kind, and break down whatever it is that you're wanting to do. Break it down into the tiniest little steps. So for me, back when I was dealing with my loss of confidence, um, putting my foot in the stirrup was terrifying. So for me, the first step was standing on the bottom step of the mounting block, or it could have been leading a horse to the mounting block. I could have started there and just dealing with that and taking the horse away and coming back and taking away and coming back, stepping on the mounting block, stepping off the mounting block. It could be that small. Now, if your fear is cantering, then you might practice setting up the transition for the canter so that you don't actually canter, but you're working on your trot, you're working on feeling your horse getting balanced, you're working on feeling your seat bones in the saddle, all these little pieces that break down. And yes, Loretta, lots of people are doing lots of in hand right now. because they're not feeling safe about riding. In the event something does happen, they don't want to end up in hospital. None of us want to end up in hospital right now in the middle of this pandemic. So there are definitely things you can do from the ground and doing things in hand. And even as you're doing these things in hand, picturing or imagining yourself being in the saddle. So certainly in hand, you can be doing patterns, you can be doing transitions, a slow walk to a bigger walk, a collected walk to an extended walk. You can be going over poles. You could even be going over little raised poles or little cross rails. Um, if you're, a Western rider, you could be doing your patterns or going around barrels. You can be leading your horse in trot, down to walk, down to halt, back up, all sorts of things. And you can just picture yourself doing it from the saddle, because that also helps your brain, which doesn't really know the difference between reality and imagined. And if you're feeling relaxed and breathing and enjoying being with your horse, working from the ground, but picturing it, that feeling of doing it from the saddle, that's a good way to start to override these habitual feelings of anxiety. You can pat yourself on the back. Oh yes, lateral work too, Loretta, good one. You can pat yourself on the back when you do make a tiny step. When you like, for example, the other day when I mentioned I made this challenge to go live every day in April, and the other day I didn't feel like doing it, but I did it. And I did congratulate myself afterwards for having made the effort and having got on and done that live. So you can do the same thing, is whatever little step you've, showing up to work with your horse, showing up and grooming your horse, showing up and putting the saddle on your horse. Because you can do in-hand work with your horse tacked up as well. And that also helps sort of set into your mind that, oh, tacking up the horse is not a scary thing because we just do this and it's fun. So just looking for ways to change the way your brain connects its feelings, and that that alarm mechanism that's gone a little wonky, and readjusting that so that that alarm is only going to go off when there's something that you really do need to be paying attention to, when it is a legitimate notification that, oh, you better be aware of something that's happening. Another part of this is to focus on how far you've come. So you might have set this goal, say for example, it's cantering, that's your issue. And your goal is to be able to canter around your whole riding arena or your school. But you start out working on imagining the trot transition or the canter transition, that you work on feeling your horse lifting his back and engaging his hindquarters, and your body following that movement rather than bracing against it. And then, so you congratulate yourself for doing that step. And then the next step might be, oh, we get one canter stride and then back down to trot. And again, you congratulate yourself for that step. Every little step you take, you want to pat yourself on the back for, and you want to focus on how far you've come, not focus on how far you have to go to get the goal. Because doing that brings you back down into that sort of, I'm not good enough, I'm never going to do that. All those negative sorts of thoughts will come back into your head. So focus on how far you've gone, focus on the progress you're making, be patient, and plant new thoughts. So catch those negative thoughts coming in and question them. I've talked about this before. Ask, is it true? Replace it with something positive. Yes, journaling is another good thing, Loretta. It gets all that brain dump all the garbage that's in your brain and get it out. Stop letting it take up valuable space in your head. And plant those new thoughts. So it's a bit like, it's spring now, so perhaps some of you are already gardening. We're not quite there because we had snow yet again today. But I've been out pulling grass out of my flower gardens. The grass always comes up before the flowers do, and I'm pulling grass out. And every day I can go out and there'll be a little bit more grass. And if I could take that grass, if I could plant some plants in there right now that would shade that grass out, I wouldn't be dealing with so much grass coming up. So the grass or the weeds coming up in your garden, if we do nothing about them, then they take over. If we start to pull them out by doing things like, as Loretta suggested, journaling, by questioning those negative thoughts, by replacing them with, reframing them into something more positive, then those weeds grow less and less and less. There's fewer and fewer weeds. You don't have to work so hard on the weeds at the beginning. Seems like a lot of work. And then we plant new plants, big, bright, bold flowers. So new positive thoughts that are going to replace those weeds. And soon, bit by bit, you're going to feel less anxious. You're going to notice that that spot that you used to start where the anxiety used to kick in, it's not going to happen there anymore. So I hope you found this useful. If you've got any questions or comments, pop them in the comments here. If you're watching the replay, please let me know you're watching. Type in replay. And if there's any particular topic you'd like me to talk about, or a particular situation you're dealing with you'd like me to address, then pop that in the comments too. Let me know. As I said, I made a challenge to do these lives every day, so I need lots of topics to, and I want to make sure it's information that's valuable to you. So if you are struggling with anxiety and you would like some help, I'm going to pop in the comments a link where you can book in a one-to-one call with me where we can get to the bottom of what's going on and give you some suggestions for managing that. So that's it for now. It's time to go feed my horses. I will talk with you again tomorrow. And remember, enjoy every ride. Or if you're not riding right now, just enjoy the time with your horse if you're lucky enough to be able to do that.